In the history of the British monarchy, few bloodlines so clearly embody the union of Europe's dynasties as the Cambridge Teck family. This hybrid name arose from the fusion of two branches: the Cambridges, belonging to the British royal family, and the Tecks, a German noble family of morganatic origin. The alliance between both houses, consolidated in the mid-19th century, had lasting consequences for the British crown. The Cambridges descended directly from King George III on British soil, while the Tecks were linked to the German kingdom of Württemberg. From this union was born a new family that intertwined British royal blood with Central European nobility, providing key figures to the English throne of the 20th century and reflecting the profound political and cultural changes of its time. Before delving deeper, we invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so that you don't miss our historical content. Without further ado, let's begin. Origins of the Cambridge branch. The Cambridge branch of the British royal family traces its origins to King George III. One of his younger sons, Prince Adolphus, was granted the title Duke of Cambridge in 1801. Born in 1774, he was George III's seventh son and the uncle of the future Queen Victoria. For much of his life, he served as Viceroy in Hanover, where his youngest daughter, Mary Adelaide of Cambridge, was born on the 27th of November 1833. Her elder siblings were Prince George, 2nd Duke of Cambridge, and Princess Augusta, later Grand Duchess of Mecklenburg-Strelitz. When the family returned to England in 1837, following Queen Victoria's accession, the Cambridges became fully integrated into London's court life. Mary Adelaide, the Queen's first cousin, soon stood out for her charm and approachability. However, she reached her 30s unmarried, something unusual for a princess of her rank. Her marriage in 1866 to Prince Francis of Teck would mark the beginning of the Cambridge Teck dynasty. Publicly, Mary Adelaide was renowned for her devotion to charity, becoming one of the first princesses to actively support social and philanthropic causes. Her commitment set a precedent for her descendants. Financially, she relied on an annual parliamentary allowance of £5,000, supplemented by family assistance, which enabled her to maintain a lifestyle befitting her rank and fulfill her royal duties. Origins of the Teck branch. The Teck branch had its roots in the Kingdom of Württemberg, in present-day Germany, and reflected the complexities of 19th-century nobility. Duke Alexander of Württemberg, cousin of King William I, married in 1835. Claudine Rede von Kiss-Rede, a Hungarian countess without royal rank. The marriage was considered morganatic, excluding their children from dynastic rights. To mitigate this inequality, Claudine was granted the title Countess of Hohenstein, which was also passed to her descendants. In 1841, Alexander was widowed when Claudine died in a riding accident. Their children, though disadvantaged, maintained strong ties with reigning houses. Alexander was nephew to the first King of Württemberg, and through his mother, a descendant of George II of Great Britain. In 1863, King William I officially recognized the children as Princes and Princesses of Teck, with the style of Serene Highness. Although the title carried neither territory nor full dynastic rights, it elevated their standing and opened the door to advantageous marriage alliances. The second son, Francis of Teck, became the central figure of the branch. An officer in the Austro-Hungarian army, he received the title of Prince of Teck in 1863. 3 years later, in 1871, King Charles I of Württemberg elevated him to the hereditary title of Duke of Teck, though without the rank of Royal Highness. Despite this advancement, Francis never enjoyed financial ease, for he lacked major estates or revenues. Even so, his position as an honorary duke and his marriage to a royal princess allowed him to integrate fully into the British aristocracy. In short, the Teck branch brought to the future alliance a German nobility of royal origin, yet limited by its morganatic nature, one that found, through union with the Cambridges, a path into the British monarchy. The Cambridge Teck Union. On 12 June 1866, Princess Mary Adelaide of Cambridge married Prince Francis of Teck at St. Anne's Church, Kew. She was 32, he was 28, and had held the title of Prince of Teck since 1863. Despite the disparity of rank, she being a Royal Highness and he merely a Serene Highness, Queen Victoria approved the match. After the wedding, they were socially known as the Duke and Duchess of Teck, although Francis did not officially receive that title until 1871. They decided to settle in England, first in apartments at Kensington Palace and later at White Lodge in Richmond Park, a residence granted by Queen Victoria. The Tecks' life was divided among official engagements, social receptions, and charitable work, through which Mary Adelaide gained wide popularity. However, her taste for luxury and generous hospitality led the family into debt. In 1883, they undertook a period of self-imposed exile in Europe, residing in Florence and with relatives in Germany and Austria, until in 1885 they were able to return to England with their finances stabilized. From the marriage were born 4 children. The eldest, Victoria Mary, affectionately known as May, was born in 1867 and would in time become Queen Consort. A year later came Adolphus, destined to inherit his father's title. In 1870 was born Francis Joseph, and in 1874 the youngest, Alexander, the future Earl of Athlone. All bore the style of Serene Highness and grew up in London, between strict family discipline and close proximity to the royal court. Although they occupied distant places in the line of succession to the British throne, they were direct descendants of George III, which ensured them a visible place in the public life of the empire. In time, each would find his or her own path, whether in royalty, the aristocracy, or public service, dynastic projection, and political social role. With the turn of the century, the Cambridge-Teck union reached its greatest significance. The eldest daughter, Victoria Mary of Teck, became the bridge to the main line of the British monarchy. On the 6th of July, 1893, she married her distant cousin, Prince George, Duke of York, the future King George V, in the Chapel Royal at St. James's Palace. Thus, in 1910, May became Queen Mary, consort to a British king. The rise was meteoric. In less than 3 decades, the daughter of the modest Duchess of Teck had ascended to the pinnacle of royalty. Her mother, Mary Adelaide, had died in 1897, never living to see her daughter become Princess of Wales or Queen, though certain that her destiny was secured. Indeed, Queen Victoria enthusiastically supported the union, knowing that it ensured stability for the dynasty and united, in the new generation, British and German heritage. As consort, Mary of Teck played a fundamental role in the 20th century. She was a constant support to George V during turbulent times, including the First World War, and personified British loyalty despite her German roots. She supported the 1917 decision to renounce the family's German titles, which gave rise to the House of Windsor. Moreover, she continued her mother's philanthropic legacy, sponsoring hospitals, associations, and charitable institutions. Her influence endured through her children, among them Kings Edward VIII and George VI, and through the line of succession that led to Elizabeth II and Charles III. The sons also consolidated the family's role. Adolphus of Teck, educated at Wellington and Sandhurst, served in the British cavalry. He took part in the Second Boer War and the First World War, attaining the rank of lieutenant colonel. In 1894, he married Lady Margaret Grosvenor, daughter of the Duke of Westminster, thereby strengthening ties with the high aristocracy. Upon his father's death, he inherited the German title of Duke of Teck, though it held no validity in England, where he held honorary positions such as Governor and Constable of Windsor Castle. Alexander of Teck pursued a military career, rising to the rank of Major General. He served as Governor-General of South Africa from 1924 to 1930, and of Canada from 1940 to 1946, consolidating his prestige within the overseas dominions. In 1904, he married Princess Alice of Albany, granddaughter of Queen Victoria. They had 3 children, though one, Prince Rupert, died in 1928. Alexander also served as Chancellor of the University of London and presided over various sporting and cultural institutions. He died in 1957, one of the last surviving witnesses of the Victorian age. Francis Joseph of Teck led a quieter life as an officer in the Dragoon Guards. He died unmarried in 1910, leaving in his will a collection of jewels to a friend, which his sister, Queen Mary, later recovered for the crown. Taken together, the Cambridge Tecks became firmly established as an extended family of the British monarchy, with distinguished roles. A daughter who became queen consort and matriarch of the dynasty. One son, Adolphus, integrated into the court and high nobility. Another, Alexander, serving as the king's representative in Africa and Canada, all of them bound by alliances and service to the empire. This political and social projection would become the prelude to their redefinition during the First World War. Transformations of the 20th century. The First World War marked a turning point for the British monarchy, and, in particular, for the Cambridge Teck family due to their German roots. With the country at war with Germany, public opinion grew distrustful of any German connections. In 1917, King George V took a historic decision. He abolished the German titles of his family and adopted the new surname Windsor in place of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. On July 17, 1917, the Teck brothers, brothers-in-law to the king, were directly affected. Adolphus of Teck, who had inherited the German duchy in 1900, renounced his title and the style of Serene Highness. That same day, he was created Marquess of Cambridge, with the subsidiary titles Earl of Eltham and Viscount Northallerton. His wife became the Marchioness of Cambridge, his daughters were styled Lady Mary and Lady Helena Cambridge, and his eldest son received the courtesy title Earl of Eltham. At the same time, Alexander of Teck also relinquished his German titles and was created Earl of Athlone, likewise adopting the surname Cambridge. His wife, Princess Alice of Albany, became Countess of Athlone. As their only son, Rupert, died in 1928, the earldom became extinct upon Alexander's death in 1957. The reform did not affect the Tecks alone. Other branches, such as the Battenbergs, were transformed into the Mountbattens. For Queen Mary, wife of George V and daughter of the Duke and Duchess of Teck, the reform meant seeing her brothers abandon their paternal German identity. Yet it was a necessary sacrifice to strengthen public confidence in the monarchy. The Marquess of Cambridge remained attached to the royal court until his death in 1927. His son George inherited the title, which became extinct in 1981. The Earl of Athlone, meanwhile, led a long public life. He served as Governor-General of South Africa and Canada, attended the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in 1953, and died in 1957 as one of the last members of the royal family born in the Victorian era. In essence, the reform of 1917 transformed the identity of the Cambridge Tecks forever. From a family marked by morganatic origins in Germany, they became a wholly British lineage, bound to the crown by blood, service, and name. Legacy and continuity. The legacy of the Cambridge Teck House is reflected on several levels within the British monarchy. Dynastically, they gave the crown a queen consort of mixed heritage, Mary of Teck, whose sense of duty and steadfastness guided the monarchy's transition into the modern age. As wife of George V, she supported the adoption of the Windsor name in 1917 and the adaptation of the royal family after the Great War. Her influence as matriarch was decisive. She passed on to her children, among them Edward VIII and George VI, and to her grandchildren, values of service and restraint. She was a pillar during critical moments such as the abdication of 1936 and the Second World War. She died in 1953, shortly before the coronation of her granddaughter, Queen Elizabeth II, embodying the bridge between the Victorian era and the contemporary monarchy. The Cambridge Teck bloodline remains alive in the line of succession. King Charles III is the great-great-grandson of Duchess Mary Adelaide of Cambridge, closing the historical arc between that 19th century princess and the 21st century monarch. In the sphere of marriage, the family strengthened its ties with the British aristocracy. Lady Mary Cambridge, daughter of the Marquess of Cambridge, married in 1923 the Marquess of Worcester, heir to the Dukedom of Beaufort. Likewise, Lady May Cambridge, daughter of the Earl of Athlone, married in 1931 Sir Henry Abel Smith, later Governor of Queensland. Although the male titles of Cambridge and Athlone became extinct in 1981 and 1957 respectively, the female branches preserved the family name within the nobility. Culturally and institutionally, the Cambridge Tecks left a legacy of adaptation and service. Born from a morganatic marriage in Germany, they succeeded in integrating into British identity, building bridges with other royal houses when needed, and severing their foreign ties when history demanded it. Mary Adelaide and Queen Mary set precedents in royal philanthropy, while Adolphus and Alexander, transformed into Cambridge and Athlone, demonstrated that royal relatives could contribute meaningfully to the army, the imperial administration, and academic life. Taken together, the Cambridge Tecks embodied the monarchy's adaptation in a century of nationalism and social change. Their legacy was twofold. They enriched the crown through the fusion of lineages and set an example of dedication to duty, prudent modernization, and dynastic continuity that still resonates within the House of Windsor. Thank you for joining us until the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have something to add, feel free to share it with us in the comments section. Don't forget to give us a like and share this video with your friends and family, so that more people may discover the story of the Cambridge Tecks. And if you haven't already, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss our historical content. We'll see you in the next video.